Hello everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am excited to be participating in Stretch the Sketch. The sketch was included at the beginning of the video. It's a beautiful 12 by 12 inch sketch and I am going to make an 8.5 by 11 inch layout. I'm using these papers from 49 and Market. These papers are from a kit that I got a while back from my creative scrapbook, and I just cut the piece of paper down. Now I'm using modeling paste and Momenta white stencil paint, mixing them together to get a white modeling paste, and I'm just spreading it around the background. And I'm just taking a look at the sketch as I'm doing it just to see what areas I think I'm going to want the modeling paste. I'm putting the modeling paste in a few areas, but then I go back in again because I felt like the areas looked too uniform. They were too neat, they were the same size, and I just wanted to add a little bit of variation to the sizes. Now I'm going back in and I'm adding some white splatters. At the very beginning of the video, I did add some clear gesso to the entire paper, and I let that dry before I did absolutely anything to the layout. I'm adding some black splatters here, and now I'm going in with some Distress Oxides, mixing together the gray and the Seedless Preserves, I think is the name of the purple color, and I'm using that to tint the edges of the papers that I'm mounting my pictures on. These are two pictures of my daughters from 2016, so going back a little bit. But I wanted one of the pictures to be straight, so the one on the right is straight, and then the one on the left is a little bit crooked, just a tiny bit. And now I'm putting some foam on the background. Just try and get that adhesive off of the foam, just to pop it up a little bit and give the photos a little bit of dimension and make them prominent on the background. And now after attaching those down, I'm starting in with the embellishments. These are all 49 Market embellishments, and I absolutely love their papers and their embellishments. There was a cluster of photos on the bottom, but instead of including the cluster of photos, I'm going to be putting that big key ring, and I think that's some kind of a wood piece. It looks almost like a lantern. And I'm also including some leaves, and I positioned the leaves to go into the layout rather than the ones that I had there initially that went out of the layout. There were also two butterflies on this sketch, so I wanted to make sure I included a butterfly on either side of the layout. I'm going back in with some 49 Market flowers. I don't end up using those dark purple flowers. I think they look kind of nice when I'm looking at them now, but I ended up using a different dark purple flower, and I do use those lavender ones, but I did take them off and then put them back on again. Now I want to have a swirl like was included in the sketch, so I'm taking this Prima, it's a Flourish made out of pearls, and I'm cutting it so that it will match what's in the sketch. I love these particular flourishes because they don't fall apart when you take them off the plastic, which sometimes happens when I purchase the ones that are a little bit less expensive. And I just put a little mark with my pencil just so I would remember where to stick down the flourish when I was done. So now I'm just attaching that down, moving away some of the embellishments just to get that second part of the flourish stuck down. And the adhesive on these was pretty good. The adhesive worked really well. I didn't have to add any additional adhesive, and that's kind of surprising with the modeling paste and the gesso on the background. Now that I have the flourish attached, I'm going to be working on the embellishments. I also wanted to include the title. I wanted to call it Explore because that's what we were doing. We were exploring a series of antique shops, and I couldn't decide where to put it, so I just put it off to the side for now. And in the meantime, I'm cutting this delicate set of leaves apart. These are very, very delicate. They're really very pretty, but you have to be careful with them. Now I'm gluing down that key ring, and I'm just using some gel glue to do that. And just use my glue to glue down a lot of the embellishments. Usually I don't glue down the embellishments at the beginning. I like to glue them down later on after I'm sure that I like where everything is, but I just glue them down this time. I also included that little grasshopper and I popped it up on some foam. And I'm also adding in a butterfly popped up on foam, and I do go around to each of those butterflies and pop it up on some blue foam. Just attaching everything down. The ATG adhesive seems to be enough to hold everything down onto the background. If it's not enough, then I'll just use some gel medium, but it seems to be working out just fine. So now you could see that I'm adding some foam behind that one flower there. And now I decided to put my title right there on the pictures. That's not where the title was on the sketch, but I thought that that would be the best place for it. I put flowers where the title was supposed to go, but I think that looks fine, and it's a good contrast with the photos. It stands out well there. So now that I have most of the main elements where I think they should go, and most of the embellishments put down as well, I'm just gluing a few things down. I usually don't record myself gluing everything down. I do go back, however, and not only do I glue things down, but I do like to test the next day to make sure that I do have everything attached so nothing falls off in the scrapbook. I decided to add a little bit more modeling paste because there was only one spot where the modeling paste was really showing. So I added some extra modeling paste in those two areas. And now I'm again mixing together the gray color. I think that's smoked hickory, but I'll put everything in the description box. And I do go around and I tint the edges of all of the embellishments, as many as I could. Some of them were already glued down, but a lot of them, even if they did have glue on them, I picked them up and I tinted them. I also added those two extra red hearts. I didn't want that red heart on the keychain to be the only heart, so I added those two additional hearts. Now I'm going back in with some blue flowers. I thought those would look pretty, and there's some blue that's also on the pattern paper. And then I'm adding in these little floral elements. Those are just die cut from some white paper using some dies that I have in my stash. Some I'm using in larger pieces, and some I'm cutting and making smaller little clusters with or little bits with. And I just think that adds a great touch to any kind of floral background to use this addition. So I'm just trying to find the places that I think that would look nice. I didn't want to add too many over the Flourish. I didn't want to overdo in that area. What I'm doing now is I'm going around the edge with the dauber, and you can't really see that in the photos, but you can see that in person. And now I'm going in with these little metal embellishments. I don't end up leaving them on there. I thought that it would be nice to have a different texture on there, so I included those initially, but I do end up taking those off. I added also a couple more of those little die cuts up on the top. You can see that I'm adding some leaves to where I have the blue flowers, and then as that purple flower as well, I added a leaf to that. I had this in my stash. I bought this up probably in Michael's last year. These are some picks from their spring line of flowers, and I'm just cutting them little pieces and I'm putting these around the layout. Now, I do find that these will fall apart a little bit, so the next day I took some glue and I just layered a little tiny bit of glue lightly over the top of each one so that those little round balls, or whatever you want to call those, that they didn't fall off and just kind of make a mess in the scrapbook. And then I do go ahead and glue all of that down, not all of it on camera. You can see that I added back in those lavender flowers. I did have one area or one piece of footage that recorded sideways, so I didn't get to show you that, but I did add those back in again. And now I'm just gluing them down. And the final touch is this little butterfly. I pop it up on some foam and I put some adhesive on it, and then I move it around the layout until I find a nice spot for it. And that's the layout, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll check out all the other videos by all the other talented ladies who are taking part in Stretch the Sketch. I want to say thank you to my current subscribers, and I hope that you'll like and subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.